Guru Puja today, because we have completed 25 years of Guru Puja. इसको जरा घूमता कर दो. Extremely beautiful to see so many Sahajogis who are really have become very great. It's a question of understanding what Sahajoga is. It's a very unique discovery I feel now, that people who were seeking the truth have found it and have now got it absolutely on their central nervous system. Yes, in some places it's difficult to explain how it has happened, how it has worked out, and how in these 25 years we have been able to achieve this expansion of Sahajoga. The main thing I feel is that you all should know that as the tree grows, the roots have to grow much deeper, and they should spread also. If it doesn't happen, the tree cannot be sustained only by Mother Earth. So the roots are in your own life, in your own heart. When we say we have become our own Guru, we should really try to find out with our introspection, are we our Guru or not? Because before this, your mind was on one side and your heart was on another side, and your attention was in another dimension. So these three things were creating confusion within you. If you understand a human being, then you will be surprised to see how these three things act separately in a human being. And sometimes they fight also. First is your intellect and your mind. Second is your heart, your feelings, your emotions. And the third one is your attention. In these modern times, this confusion is the worst, because all the time your attention is outside. It could be towards beautiful things or beautiful women or beautiful men or all kinds of nonsensical way of wasting your energy. Such attention then is absolutely like a horse which is let loose. You cannot control such an attention. And this attention runs wild from one to another. is a fashion also. It's sort of a very popular thing to keep the attention moving all the time. But this attention that has to be towards the divine, towards the Almighty, is just being frittered away. Thus, attention doesn't grow its own roots. First is to find out about yourself. Where does your attention go? What makes you feel like looking after or concern or attention? You see, the attention comes from various problems and could be your upbringing where you are not controlled. Could be your education, could be your atmosphere in which you live, or could be your own ego or your conditioning. पानी बहुत ठंडा है शायद इस वजह से This attention is being attacked by all these outside energies or negative forces, and it gets entangled. Like a river flowing straight into the ocean can get lost in a barren place. In the same way, this attention, which has to go towards the divine, gets frittered away and is punished. This weak attention cannot take you towards the divine. Ultimately, you find that all this attention is being completely absorbed or frittered away by the nonsense that's going on. Unfortunately or fortunately, you are born in these modern times. And in these modern times, as you know, it's a very chaotic condition. In these chaotic conditions, you don't know what is right and what is wrong. And there are all kinds of attractions which can take away your attention and reduce the energy of your attention. It is possible more for the people who are very right-sided. Also, the left-sided people can be very much affected. Right-sided people, as you know, go up to a point and become extremely dry, self-opinionated, and aggressive. All their attention is in aggression. While the people who are on the left side are indulging too much into their own whims and their desires and their own temptations. Both sides can fritter away your attention, which is the most important. It is the most valuable thing is your attention. But the attention cannot be controlled by a person who doesn't have a weak mind or a weak heart. Now supposing you take somebody who is a very intelligent person. The intelligent person puts all his attention in capturing the attention of others. I don't know why, but it's a kind of a paradox. The person who himself is having such a lot of aggressiveness and all that. Tries to be very sweet, tries to be very nice with people, just to keep good relations, or we can say the good behavior towards people so that they pay attention to that person. This is a very subtle thing. They are not even aware about it, that we do such a thing just to make others pay attention to us. That is how we have seen that in these modern times, so many stupid things people do just to attract the attention of others. Most of the facts that had come up in modern times are just to make something stupid so that people should pay attention to them. Of course, the Sahaja Yogis are not like that. But I'm just pointing it out, how in the modern times you have to be very careful that you should not try to attract the attention of others. Instead of that, what you have to do is to pay attention to others in a very subtle way, not with any expectation that if you are paying attention to somebody, that person should pay attention to you. It's a very big struggle I have seen in Sahaja Yoga also, that people try to say, become very popular or become very outstanding or something of a very great qualities to show off that they are something better than others. A person who is really in connection with the divine is least bothered about how people pay attention to that person, but automatically the attention of such a person is on others, which is very, very subtle, very subtle. You cannot make out that the attention of such a person is on you, but it works, and it works beautifully. We have to understand that we have now come to the realm of the divinity. We are in the kingdom of God and we are divine people. We are very powerful people. But if we fritter away our attention, we become very, very weak people. It's easy to feel that we are Sahaja Yogis, we have done so much of realization of others, or we have helped so many people. All this consciousness, if it comes within you, then know that you are still not fully developed Sahaja Yoga. There should be no consciousness of what you are doing or what you are committing. There is no need to boast about it. There is no need to advertise it. Whatever you are is already can be seen by everyone. But even that desire is not needed, because you are doing just for the satisfaction of your spirit. So then when we come to our heart, in the heart resides the spirit, as you know very well. Now when it is the heart which has to work over your brain, and which can work, what becomes of you is nothing but you become a source of love and compassion. A source, I am saying. You do not assert on others. You do not say that I have done so much for you and what are you doing to me? What is this that I should have so much expressed in so many ways, and here you are forgetting me and not doing anything for me. So the expectation of reward, if it is there, then you must know it's your mind which is giving you these ideas and is working it out that way that you just now put attention to the amount of love the other person has given you for whatever you have given to another person. It's very subtle. So in Sahaja Yoga, you should see now yourself as just a source of love which is just flowing. In that you do not say that you have to have this or that, or you have to achieve this goal, or you have to become that. It's finished now. Once you have become the source, then how can you become something? The thing is, those who are receiving from the source want to have some sort of a reward or some sort of a recognition. In this subtle way, if you move, your mind is very clever. In Sahaja Yoga, we have very clever, intelligent people. But this mind, you have to be very careful. Because this mind can cheat you. So ask your mind, why are you in Sahaja Yoga? What is the purpose of your Sahaja Yoga? Gradually this mind will shut up. And then you have to ask yourself that what is my own desire now? What do I want? What do I want to achieve? Why I am in Sahaja Yoga? If you ask this question, you will see you will just dissolve. You will become thoughtless because there is no desire left now. There is no ambition left, no competition. All these qualities are of the brain, or we can say of the intellect, which makes you competitive, which makes you also jealous. So jealousy is also a product of this competitiveness, because when two persons are competing or many are competing and one is selected, others become jealous. I mean, instead of feeling happy, all right. So one of us has become something, so we should be very happy that he has become. On the contrary, the other people feel jealous. Why has he become? Who is he? What does he think of himself? Then they go further. Not you people, but on the whole people go further with it. And what do? Is to harm another person. In Sahaja Yoga, people are also sometimes very worried and frightened. There is no need to be worried or frightened, because now you have become a Sahaja Yogi and a Guru. Nobody can touch you. Anybody who tries to touch you will be subsided somehow or other. Of course, I don't do anything as such, but today only I heard that in Turkey there were two newspapers who were after Sahaja Yoga writing all nonsensical things. So the first one met with an accident and died. I didn't do that. The second one had two people, editor and sub-editor, were killed and somebody cut their throats. Of course, I didn't do that. Some fundamentalist must have done, or somebody must have done. Now, we don't have to worry as to who criticizes you, they say it about you, because you must know they are blind people. They are absolutely blind. They are not matured as far as the wisdom is concerned. For them to understand Sahaja Yoga is not possible. They go up to a point and then they stop. They cannot go further, because this dissolution of your being, as I said, the drop becomes the ocean, is difficult, especially in the West, where there are so many ideas of their own identifications and of their own personalities. Now, it is quite again a paradox that we don't want people to dress up indecently or we don't want people to behave indecently. Decency is a very big part of Sahaja Yoga. So one can ask that, Mother, when you say you have to completely dissolve, then why should we have this dignity? Why should we worry about having a dignity? It's quite all right. This question is all right. The answer is like this. Suppose you put a drop of some filth in the ocean, then the ocean can become dirty. If you put some poison, then the whole ocean can become poisonous. In the same way, whatever is not congenial to the ocean, to this divine power, should not be done. Otherwise, you will spoil the whole of it. We have had experience. We have had Sir Yogis who were leaders also, and they tried to be quite funny, and the whole collectivity was spoiled. One person who is not a good person can spoil the whole collectivity. The one who is then a leader on top of that is even worse. So one has to understand that when you are becoming a drop of the ocean, this ocean is the pure ocean of love. In that, you should not do something that will create repulsion, frustration, or even sometimes it can create a very grotesque image of the whole ocean. That is why we have to be decent people, decorous people. It is not that in any way we want you to be like a dandy people or anything, but what it means that you must respect your body, respect yourself, and a respectable personality you should have. Too much intelligence to that is not proper. But it should be such that you should respect yourself. It's very important. If you cannot respect yourself, you cannot respect at all the divinity within you. It's like a decoration of the divinity that your whole behavior, your whole attire has to be in such a way that people should know that he is a decent man. Indecent things have come out and have become now a everyday fashion. And they go on coming one after another because of the entrepreneurs. And we are playing into the hands of entrepreneurs. But if you know what dress you have to wear and what is good for you, once for all you have to decide. Now the attention should not be also wasted in that today I'll wear this kind of a sari, tomorrow I'll wear that kind of a dress, third day, because that also spoils the attention. But if it is a decent thing, it's perfectly all right, and that will really make you feel dignified within yourself. In modern times, as the people are, I don't think they have much respect for themselves. You see very highly posted people, highly placed people doing all kinds of nonsensical things like cheating, like having relations with people who are of dishonorable position. All this is happening. If you see in the newspaper, you are shocked how these people at the helm of affairs could be like this, because they are still not matured enough to know where are they, what is their position, how they have to be. If you are mature enough, then you will understand that, say, I am a housewife, I am such a minister, I am prime minister, how I should be. That all that achievement they have outside remains outside, doesn't go inside. But for a Sahaja Yogi, it should be absorbed within. It has to be absorbed within so that the attention is not wasted too much. The another part which one has to see is the heart. Some people are saying, Mother, if our heart is ruling the head, then we become too much emotional, we get too much attached to people, we see sort of individual friendships and things like that. On this point, one has to know that why do you get attached to one person? It's not your heart. It's not your heart. You get attached to a person because you have some sort of a, we can say, a relationship maybe, or maybe you like the hairdress of that person, maybe you like the dress that person has. Something outside quality is attracting you towards that person. It is not something inner quality that is attractive. For example, if you are attached to your children too much, you will spoil them. They will not come up to your expectations. Anybody you get attached to, you must verify why are you attached to such a person. What is the reason? Now in Sahaja Yoga, people are attached to each other very much, I know that. But it is not for any external reason. Because somebody is rich, because somebody is famous, because somebody is doing some sort of a extraordinary work. No. They are attached to that person because that person is a bundle of vibrations. That it gives you tranquility, it gives you joy, and it gives you a kind of an immense resolution of your being. So that happens when you are very much there. As I have told you the story of once this potter was kneading the clay, and his name was Gora Kumar. And when Namadeva, who was a tailor but very well known poet, both of them were poets, he went and he saw this potter was doing such a, it was not a very respectable work he was doing. He was busy kneading the clay. He looked at him, and what he says, that I have come here to see the Chaitanya, to see the formless. But what I find, that the formless has got into a form. This only, I always say, is only possible between the two saints of the same level. That the way they appreciate, the way they feel, there are no words for what I want to say, but the way they feel the oneness, the unity, which is a subtle one between each other. Such a feeling, if you have for each other, then know that you are really now dissolved and you are in the ocean of joy. But on the contrary, those who are sitting on the shores cannot feel that way. They judge, they try to find out what's wrong with that person, this is not so. They can never appreciate another person. What they feel is that they have a right to criticize, to find out faults with others, and that they are something special. And the other person also finds out faults with this person. So it's a fault-finding society, I find sometimes, and you get fed up with it. But when you see that another person who is there, the person who is another saint, you feel such rapport, such oneness, such a spontaneous feeling for that person, which is absolutely pure. There's no expectation. There's no mental activity to find out what's wrong with that person. There's no judgment about what the person is like, but just oneness with that person you feel, and you feel that your quality of your love has got a new shine, a new dimension. So it comes to that, what we should appreciate within ourselves is the purity of our love. When you are pure, the purity is there, you do not get attached to anything, but in that detachment you are enjoying. In attachment you cannot enjoy, because in that you are bothered more about the superficial relationship with the other person. Now, in a wider way, if you see Sahaja Yoga, you are all very important people. Extremely important. Because in the history of spirituality, there were not so many saints sitting together. Never can you see so many people from so many countries thinking about divinity and morality. It is impossible to get so many people together on any point whatsoever who are feeling the oneness, we can say the most soothing feeling with each other. Whether it is comfortable or not, whether it is very much according to the norms of comfort. People who are saints are absolutely happy with other saints and other saintly people. They rush to people who are saints. Once it happened to me when I was in Kolhapur that they told me there is a saint who talks about it. So where is he? They said he lives up there and it will take at least 3 hours for you to climb up. He only lives there, he doesn't come out. I said, all right, I would like to go and see him. So I was walking and it started raining. So they said, Mother, you never go to anybody like that. Why are you going to him? I said, no, just I want to go up and see him. Now this fellow, they said, had a control over rain. But it was raining very heavily. And when I climbed up, I saw him sitting down and going on like this with great anger. So I said, let us go and sit in his cave, because this fellow is now not in a normal mood. So I went and sat in the cave there, and there he came. He couldn't walk because his, they say that his legs became absolutely lame because of the vibrations that were too much in him. Whatever it is, they couldn't walk. So they brought him there, he sat down. So the first thing he asked me, why did you not allow me to stop the rain? It was raining so heavy. And when you were coming up, I didn't want you to get drenched. The way now you are all full of water, and I didn't want you to suffer like this, because it's not a good welcome to you. So did you do it just to control my ego? Because I must have developed ego because I can control rain, that's a fact. So I just smiled at him. I said, see, you are my son, isn't it? And you have bought a sari for me. But you are a sannyasi, so I can't take a sari from you, because sannyasi dharma is different. I am a grihastha. I can't take a sari from you. So I deliberately got drenched so that you could give me sari. The whole temper, whole unnatural behavior all dropped out. He became extremely sweet. Yes, yes, he said, how do you know I bought a sari? At least I said, in love you know everything. And then he brought a sari for me, and he did aarti and everything. But you see, all these things show that how the love masters everything so easily. Small, small things, if you are expert in expressing your love, how it works out. There are so many incidents I can give you like this. But the main thing we have to see within ourselves, do we really love each other? Do we really have affection and compassion for others who are not even Sahajogis? Those who are not Sahajogis are also the blind people. You should have compassion for them. You should feel that these people are so unhappy and they cannot come to Sahaja Yoga and they cannot become Sahaja Yogis, and only in their ego they are satisfied. So you must have real compassion for them. Now, if you have this compassion, you might be told by people that why you are wasting your energy, you are doing this, you are doing that. The compassion is actually unites all these things within ourselves. That's the uniting factor. First is your attention. First, which is very, very important, I think. And the second one is your intellect, or you can say your mind. And the third one is your heart. They all get somehow or other united together. Once you have this capacity to have compassion, you don't quarrel with anyone. You don't have to think about it. You just feel absolutely at home when you are compassionate, and with this compassion you are having relations with others. Now this compassion is not studied out or worked out or maneuvered. It is just there. It is there. In that compassion, it forgives. It forgets all nonsensical things. The forgiveness is only possible if you have this compassion within you. Now even there are Sahaja Yogis who asked me, Mother, how can we have love and compassion? I mean, this is a question which many have asked me. Now the simple thing is that if you develop your thoughtless awareness in your meditation, in thoughtless awareness, you watch anything in thoughtless awareness, any relationship you see it in thoughtless awareness, then you will be amazed how the gates of this compassion will open. Thoughtless awareness